I did not know it's this big because it has over 800,000 matches, over 10 million messages. That is pretty impressive.
Dating in general, even in the US, it's kind of like difficult, especially in very large cities.
I remember when I was in college, meeting Habesha girls was so hard because, you know, you're scattered in the US.
We actually studied the US census, trying to see the largest Habesha distributions are. That way you have like more people around you.
Jebena, that's always where around the coffee is where you really open up to. You know, nowadays, so many women are frustrated about dating.
We need a platform because, you know, not everyone is outgoing person and they're not going to put themselves on camera.
There's this thing in this generation we call situationships. Never seen it before.
We don't want people to just look at the photos and swipe quickly. We actually want the more engagement than just more swipes.
There's a saying that I've always loved, which is true love is a friendship set on fire.
There have been people that have had kids. We have Jebena kids.
Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Dink Podcast. This is what we call the business edition. I'm here with Henok Weldemicael, who is the founder, CEO, or co-founders of Jebena, one of the largest dating apps in Ethiopia, Eritrea, and pretty much for the Ethiopian, Habesha, Eritrean community, and it launched in 2020, just in the heart of COVID. Yep. I did not know it's this big because it has over 800,000 matches. Over 10 million messages exchanged, and that is pretty impressive, and wow. So we're going to get into it, but before that, let's get to know a little about the CEO, the founder, who is Henok, and I'm going to have him introduce himself. First of all, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Bobby. Appreciate it. Great to be here.
Definitely. So tell us about you, a little about your background, and let's start from there.
Yeah. So as you said, you know, my name is Henok. I'm a software engineer by trade. I live in New York City. I studied computer science at the Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio. Go Buckeyes. I don't know if there are any people from Ohio, but yeah, after college, I moved to New York, started working in the finance sector. After several years, me and a couple of my friends started working on Jebena. Mm-hmm. And all of us come from different backgrounds. I guess that's one of the blessings of being part of this project. And and we've been working on it since 2020, summer 2020, like you said. It's been a lot of up and down.
Yeah, I could imagine. So dating is becoming very kind of complicated nowadays. Yeah. But what is the problem that you guys are trying to solve? What's going on there, and what's your take on that?
Yeah, dating in general, even in the US, it's kind of like difficult, especially in very large cities or if you move to a different city for school. Mm-hmm. And similarly in our community, it's also a challenge, especially in the diaspora, but for a different reason. So the main reason is in the diaspora, we have like super decentralized communities, right? So you have some Habeshas in DC, some in New York, in the Midwest. So there isn't really like a way to meet people from your community unless you're
for
like
people
going to a wedding or a graduation.
Yeah. And that's actually how it's been. A lot of times it's weddings or right.
That's when you're like dressed up and trying to meet other people, and all the aunties are trying to hook you up with somebody. So like that's basically the root of the problem we're trying to solve, and the way we're solving it is, you know, through a digital platform, because now everything we do is digital. We order food online, we order ride. I just got here on a ride app. So why not utilize the technology that people are already familiar with to kind of introduce them to each other?
There's so much you're right, everything is moving towards a more digital world, right? It's apps, it's everything.
Yep.
But I mean, you have impressive stats, 800,000 matches, 10 million messages. So people need to know that there's a lot of people using this app.
Some of it actually kind of surprised me too, because our community is a bit conservative. So
there's a stigma,
even in the US, let alone a very religious community. So I genuinely didn't think that many users, especially female users, would start using the platform. But in the initial marketing we were doing, we put a lot of effort to make sure, you know, there are features in the platform that make people safe. If they don't like something, they can actually block it or report it, to basically ensure that the platform has the highest quality possible. And then when the users, especially women, are more comfortable, then they would tell their friends, and then, you know, their friends would tell their friends. So it's a lot of it has actually been pretty organic growth. Because of that, we've been blessed in that way.
What makes Jebena unique? Is it the safety features? Is it the fact that it is the number one? There's a lot of people on there. What's different about it?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. So yeah, there's the safety features, but also the matching itself. So one of the early features we implemented on the platform is how you choose people. So we couldn't just copy like the American dating app model like Tinder and Bumble, because the way those apps work is, you know, you sign up and then you choose a radius around you. You would say 5-mile radius or 10 miles radius. But in our community, that's not going to work, because like I was saying earlier, it's very decentralized. So if I said 5 miles radius, there's not going to be anybody on the app, right? So we basically had to create a custom map on the platform. Like we actually studied the US Census, trying to see where the largest Habesha distributions are, and we created custom maps based on those regions. That way you have like more people around you. And in the case of Jebena, since we're trying to meet people from the same culture, people are willing to sacrifice distance to be with someone from their culture. Because if you're just trying to date an American, you're going to be very picky about the location. Going like, they have to be on the next block, not even the next city. But if it's someone from your culture, you're like, you know, I don't mind if they're in the next city or the next state, because you know, I'm trying to meet somebody from similar background as me. If you were to try to find somebody from your culture in a mainstream app, you can't have that kind of experience, right? Even here in Ethiopia, like the way we integrate with the community and work with like local brands, you know, the generic international dating apps are not gonna put in the effort to do that with every little city, every little country. Right.
And you're right. I mean, with Habesha people, they really want to date within their culture. That's a very important part of, you know, kind of dating. And you know, one of the things I want to ask is, what has been some of the challenges as developing like a software like this?
Yeah, there's a lot of challenges. Some of it is like technical, some of it is like, you know, just the nature of building products. So some of the earliest challenges is because it's a social network, there have to be people on the platform. So you have this vicious cycle, like chicken and egg type of problem, where, you know, you need people to be on the platform, but people are not going to be on the platform unless there are people on the platform, but you need people on the platform. So like if it was like, let's say, a music streaming app, then, you know, it doesn't matter how many users it has, as long as it has my favorite artists. I don't care if it has like 10 million users or 10 billion users. But in a network, that makes all the difference. So we kind of had to like play around on how we want to do the launch and how we want to do the marketing. So one of the earliest decisions we made was, you know, we said we're not gonna like turn on the matching until we reach some critical mass of users. So the first like several weeks of the platform, you would invite your friends, but there was no matchmaking. So we were just gathering the users.
So
you would sign up, and then it would say like, hey Bobby, welcome to Jebena, invite your friends. It would say like, invite 5 of your friends or 10 of your friends.
Very cool.
I think it was like 5k or 10k when we reached that number of users. We did some math and we're like, you know, I think we have enough users where, you know, when somebody signs up, it's not going to be an empty feed. Because imagine going to a store and then it's like there's nothing in there, there's like no product or service. So that was kind of like one of the earliest, like day one challenges, basically, just product development challenge, basically.
And when you started it, was it from a need like, hey, I want to meet Habesha, you know, girls, or I want to date? Sometimes some of the best products are built from our own personal needs. Like, I'm not meeting quality people.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
am I right?
Absolutely. Because especially like when I was in college, it's like, you know, you kind of get caught up in your day-to-day activity. You're going from class to class. So, you know, if you're only interested in somebody, especially somebody who kind of shares similar interests as you, someone who comes from the same background as you. Yeah, it was like, it's a challenge. So, you know, and then I would talk to my friends and they would have the same stories.
Right.
And so we were kind of just like, let's see, like there seems to be a problem. And I remember during the lockdown, especially, people would, you know, there would be like social media on like Salam Central, platforms like Salam Central, they used to be like matchmaking. And then pretty much half of the comments are like, oh, we need a platform because, you know, not everyone is outgoing person and they're not going to put themselves on camera. So when we would talk to people, we would just kind of, we're like, let's just do this. Like, let's try to solve it and see if there's like an actual need for it. And one of my favorite sayings, it's actually from Y Combinator, like the largest incubator in Silicon Valley. They say like, build something people want. And as like basic as that sounds, like that's what makes or breaks products.
Yeah.
Because like we were overwhelmed by the number of people who are like, oh, this is like actually interesting, can you guys add this feature or can you add that feature?
Right.
So that shows you that, oh, this is actually like solving like personal problems,
right?
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. Especially, I remember when I was in college, meeting Habesha people, Habesha girls was so hard because, you know, you're scattered in the US.
Scattered. Oh, absolutely.
And the only time you get to see each other is a lot of times Habesha events or parties,
which is rare.
Very rare. It happens once every couple of months, if that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, this was way before, so it didn't have any, this was way before apps and all that stuff. So I'm sure there's so many people that are excited about this. And like, tell our audience, there have been a lot of people that have actually been married.
Oh, there have been people that have had kids. We have Jebena kids.
Jebena kids, I like that. We'll talk about the name, but talk about, you know, the you know, this marriage. And you know, I told you actually, my friend, she said her friends, she's supposed to go to a wedding soon. They just got engaged. It's just someone personal, but I'm hearing a lot of stories.
Actually, the first few people that told us they met on Jebena, we used to send them gifts, like a package but now we're hearing so many of these stories, so like we don't have the budget.
We don't have the budget.
We used to like do like wedding registries and stuff, so we don't do that as much now. But yeah, it's just so shocking to me. Actually, this one Ethiopian lady messaged us on Instagram. I don't remember if it was the guy or the woman. One of them is in Australia and the other one is in California. They met on Jebena. She was planning, or he was planning, one of them was planning to move to California. And I was just like, just thinking about that distance alone, it's crazy that someone like would sacrifice that much distance. But that just shows you how
the
people,
connection
like, connection is powerful. And in terms of people sharing their stories, like, initially, like, people would message us, right? And then we always ask them, hey, do you want this to be publicly shared or anonymous? If it's anonymous, we hide their names. So a lot of the users were like, oh no, just, sometimes they would say like, don't even post it anonymous, we're just telling you to say thank you, but don't post it. And then there was one couple from the DMV area. Her name is Zamzam. She also makes like YouTube videos. She met her husband there, and she made a video about how they met and stuff. And so when people like her that are like more outgoing people start sharing their stories, it kind of normalized it in a way. And
of course,
others are like, hey, my cousin actually, like you were saying, hey, my cousin actually met somebody on Jebena. Or they would be like, oh, this wedding, this couple just met on Jebena.
Yeah, it's. I think people need to know how normal it's become.
It has. It's so surprising to me too, because like in the early days, like in early 2020, we were like in beta version of the app for a while. And we would ask some of our female friends, like, hey, do you want to try this? And a lot of them would say, oh, no, this is not my thing. And then you fast forward when we launch it, like, the same users are now, like, the most, you know, outgoing ambassadors of the platform, you know?
They're always on it.
Like, I
gotta find my Prince Charming.
Yeah, so it just, like, it shows you. And so a lot of the women that share their stories, they would actually say, like, it's actually my first dating app. Like, that was not my thing, but people would tell me that, you know, everyone is doing it, so now, like, I'm trying to meet somebody here.
Oh yeah, I mean, I see this in the future. This is the way people are going to meet. I think the way people just kind of walk up to strangers and try to, you know, get to know each other is becoming something of the past.
Oh, absolutely.
The name. Talk to me about that name. You kind of told me how you guys came up with that name, Jebena. What does it mean? Like, why this name for the app?
Yeah, we wanted to have a name that's, you know, like everybody is familiar with. So in our culture, as you know, coffee is more than just coffee, right? So
Right.
when you're around Jebena in your community, that's the most comfortable you're in. That's when, it's real fikr, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's when, you're gossiping, you're talking about your wedding, talking about your graduation. So the coffee ceremony is such an integral part of our community, and a Jebena is somebody everybody has in their home. They're comfortable with it. They grew up around it. So that's kind of why we chose that name. It's like, hey, everybody has Jebena in their homes. This is your comfort zone. Like, you're welcome here. You're gonna be safe here, and you're gonna find your soulmate here. That's what we're going for.
Yeah, because Jebena, that's always where around the coffee table or ceremony is where you really open up too.
That's the original social network.
That's the original social network, and in order to really date, to be part of the dating world in a sincere and honest, you got to open up.
Oh, definitely.
Right, and communicate.
Yeah.
So it's been a challenge though within the Ethiopian market a little bit. Has it been more challenging in the U.S. or here in Ethiopia and Eritrea? Like, how have you seen that?
It's definitely a challenge. So initially, for like several months, I think close to a year, we were on iOS only. We wanted to focus on one platform, and because of that, many of our users were from like the US, from Canada, and some from like some Scandinavian countries. But when we launched the Android, that's when we started encountering like a diverse set of like challenges. Some of it because the nature of Android is a lot more diverse. There's more devices, and then on the non-technical side, like there's like different cultures in different countries. So the way you kind of market to a different continent is kind of slightly different from what we're used to, right? So because of that, we kind of started basically partnering with like large pages in Europe or large pages or platforms in Ethiopia to like familiarize people with the platform,
Right.
and in some cases do some like educational content to kind of teach people on how to use it. We started adding like tutorials within the app.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of work we need to do in terms of like teaching people how to use it, and so it's different. Each market introduces like a different set of problems.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the sort of demographic age group? Who's really using this app? Age group?
It's people like 20 to like 35 is like the vast majority of our users. There's some like on the younger side, like early college, mid college level, so like 18, 19.
Right.
But the vast majority of the users are like late 20s, early 30s. That's kind of the demographic, and because of where we started, the vast majority of our users now are in the US, like as a whole.
Yeah.
But when we launched in Ethiopia, the Addis Ababa users have grown so fast that late last year they actually surpassed DC. So Addis Ababa is now the number one city on the platform.
Really?
That kind of surprised me.
Wow.
There's a lot of Addis users.
A lot of Addis users. Okay.
Yeah, we recently crossed 50,000 users in Addis Ababa.
Okay, that's
so,
awesome.
This is a very large market, so that's like,
Of course.
it's a drop in the bucket, but it's good
It's
to
a
know
start.
that people are actually using it. So that's why we like are now trying to invest more in Ethiopia and trying to integrate more into like the market here.
Right.
Yeah.
Because now you're doing this full time.
Yep.
Now you were a programmer, worked for the corporate America, right?
Yeah.
And now you're doing this full time. You're putting all your energy into it.
Some of these new dating apps coming in the US, they focus more on offline meetings, so they try to get you to meet offline as soon as possible, which is the complete opposite of the old school dating apps like Tinder, where you're swiping through so many people. Now some of the new apps I've been seeing, they would just like basically work with local businesses and local restaurants to kind of force people to go offline. So maybe people over the lockdown and stuff are kind of fatigued with like fully digital. So there's been like sometimes it becomes like fully digital, and other times it's like more like people trying to integrate the dating nature with like local events. That's kind of what I'm noticing. And one of the things we try to do actually is like, so in the traditional dating apps, they send you so many people, where you barely have enough time to process each profile.
So it's just
yeah,
you're not really connecting.
You're not really connecting. And so on our platform, actually, we only send you 10 people a day. And yeah, so part of that is, you know, the community is small, so we need time to kind of compile users to send you.
Is it, and how do you do that? Is it based on what you fill out?
Yeah, your preferences. So you would like fill in your preferences, and then every morning it would tell you like, hey Henok, here are the 10 people we think are great matches for you. And then, you know, some people don't like that we limit it to 10 for men and 20 for women. But
why is that?
Just, you know, like we want to
you want to give the ladies give them a little more options. Yeah.
You know? Yeah, just that. And then
it makes sense.
And so since you have like this scarcity, then you also spend more time, because we don't want people to just look at the photos and swipe quickly. We actually want the more engagement than just more swipes. Like to us, the most important metric is what you mentioned earlier, like the matches we're creating and how engaged are the matches. Because not only is it enough to create a match, if it's just a match and people are not talking to each other, then what's the point, right? So the most important metric for our business is like, are we creating matches, and are the people talking to each other? Are they sending messages to each other? Right.
What do you find? I mean, are people from the male side, are they just trying to have fun, or are there really genuine people that want to kind of meet someone and settle down and things like that? What do you find on there? Because I know Tinder is just about hooking up and having fun, right?
Yeah, having fun.
So what about something like this?
I mean, obviously that depends like on like the user, but generally speaking, for Jebena, it's more on the serious side, because you're meeting people from your community. So, you know, it's a small community, so people are actually looking for Qum Nagar. Yeah.
Okay.
So because of that, you know, it's especially in the diaspora, it's like 1 degree of separation.
Yeah.
So people are looking for something serious, so they put in like more effort to like create their profiles and to be cautious of what they write in there.
Right. Because somebody knows somebody who knows them, right?
Really 1 degree.
1 degree, right. So. All right, that's cool.
ከእያንዳንዱ አስደናቂ የፈርኒቸር ስራዎች ጀርባ ውበትንና አስደማሚ ምቾትን በተላበሱ የቤት ዕቃዎች መደብር ውስጥ በጥንቃቄና በፍቅር ከተሰሩ ቤቶች ጀርባ አንድ ምስጢራዊ ጥበብ አለ። ለምሰራቸው ፈርኒቸሮች ከነጥራቱ ዘላቂ ዕድሜን ሰጥቶልኛል። በአንድ እይታ ብቻ የደንበኞቼን ልብ ትርትር የሚያደርጉ ምርቶች እንድሸጥ ረድቶኛል። ለደንበኞቼ ቀንጡና ለኑሮ ተስማሚ የሆነ ስፍራ እንደፈጠረ ረድቶኛል። የፎም ምርቶቻችንን ቢፈልጉ ለመኝታው፣ ለቢሮ፣ ኦሆነይ ለስቱዲዮ በፈለጉት መጠን ባዘዙን ጊዜ በራሳችን ትራንስፖርት ያሉበት ቦታ ከች እናደርግልዎታለን። ሹፌር እንጎ ቀስተ ዳመና።
You know, nowadays so many women are frustrated about dating.
Yeah.
There's this thing in this generation we call situationships. Never seen it ever before in history. But now so many situationships.
Yeah.
How do you think, I mean, of course, maybe an app like this, an app might work to kind of specify exactly what they want, and then the guy wants what he wants, and kind of get them together, right?
Yeah.
So maybe an app is a solution, but why do you think that's happening, and could this solve some of these situationship problems, something like Jebena?
Yeah, it's like, one of the challenges, like you said, it's like building something that's like more like worthwhile, like more meaningful. So that's kind of becoming hard for like a lot of reasons. I think personally one of the main reasons is, you know, you don't have a lot of time, so, you know, a relationship is more than just like meeting the person. You kind of have to have ways to like keep it deeper, like to build experiences,
because we're so busy running around work, life, and you know.
Definitely, especially in the early days before you become more comfortable with each other, there's a lot of effort you have to put into that, right? And actually an interesting app I recently started experimenting with, like my fiance, it's like for couples, basically. From my experience, it looks like it's for young couples, like new relationships. They basically ask you some like things you can do. They would send you like games, or they will send you an offline experience you can get. So it would be like,
together.
So it would be like, hey, you both are in Addis Ababa in this area. There's this event happening, or there's like this cafe or this restaurant you can check out, to kind of just, especially if the people are shy, they're not gonna go out of their way to do that, especially women. And so they normally kind of expect the guy to like guide the initial meetups, so to kind of push like men to like be, I guess, to
come
be
up
a planner.
with a planner.
Yeah, to be a planner. Somebody needs to,
because
do
women
that.
like that.
Yeah,
They want
somebody
you to
needs
plan.
to be. Yeah, exactly. So
does so that's why don't you guys incorporate that?
yeah, we definitely like are researching that, because I think that would help a lot of people, especially like in the diaspora, where, you know, or in big cities. Honestly, Addis is not that different from like
Right.
New York. From my experience, from what I'm seeing, it's like
Yeah.
very chaotic. People are just going from point A to point B, even though it has millions of people. Nobody seems to have any time. So it's definitely something like we're looking into, because it just, you don't want to just create that match message. You need to build that engagement. Otherwise, it's just like surface level, and you're just going from that person to that person. And then one of the areas we're hyper focused on right now is to break that initial ice, like to just, because on social media, one of the things that's easy about social media is you have all these little features that make it easy to engage with the person, right? You add them, they add you back. Like normally, if you're a brave person, you will just message each other. Otherwise, you will just wait until they post something. You will comment, you will like it, you will respond to their stories. Right now, we don't have that, and we really need that, because it's disadvantaging some of the introverted people. So they would just like, it's just a staring contest. You're like, oh, I'm gonna wait for him to, especially if you're a woman.
Right.
You're not gonna say anything unless the guy like says something, just to make it like more fun. So there's like less pressure on the people to start engaging.
This app, is it friendly for people with kids?
Yeah, definitely. There's like older users too, like the very opposite of younger,
Like
college
over
kids.
35?
Yeah, or
in
people that
40s.
have had like, you know, relationships like, or wedding or marriage that didn't work out, and they're like, you know, I'm busy with my life or with my kids, so I just want to meet somebody. I'm not trying to waste time, right? So we have like some users like that are just like, hey, I'm not playing games, they just let me just meet somebody serious.
So there are those.
Oh,
for
definitely.
those.
And surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, those kinds of users are actually like the most outgoing people. So when they meet somebody, they tell you about it. They're like, hey, you know, I was like off from the dating life for a while, but I just got back, and you know, I just met this person. And they're also the most vocal critics from our experience. So we like them.
Got you. You know, people in their 40s that have been divorced, or they're trying to find the right match. Is it I mean, are there enough options for people like that, you know?
Yeah.
How do you attract? Because I know people, not only that, but there are also professionals. I know that in a lot of dating, and people that tell me is, I'm very busy. I don't have, even if they don't have kids, right?
Yeah.
But they're very professionals.
Yeah.
How is there a way to bring professionals together? Let's say you're a CEO, maybe you want to meet a woman that has her own things going for her.
Yeah.
Is there a way? I think your app, does it cater to that level of?
Oh, yeah, because the main problem is like, you know, you're trying to meet somebody that's like on your level, or like with similar background as you. So right now we haven't added as many prompts as we need to, but that's kind of like the goal, is for us to add as many prompts in the profiles as possible. That way our algorithm can keep getting optimized. We think we have the best algorithm so far, but there's always room for improvement. So we want to like make it the best as possible, so that, you know, users can actually meet somebody who match their interests. And like you were saying earlier, you know, when you start picking those areas of interests, then you can start matching people that have similar interests.
Because, you know, I wanted to put it as diplomatically as possible, which is, a lot of women are like, you know, we want a guy who has his, you know, ish together. Right? We want a guy that is just, you know, stable. Yeah. You know, and I think if this becomes that app where there are those kind of guys, and also maybe guys looking for the same, you know, seeking the same thing, a woman who's also stable, whether it's financially, emotionally, whatever it is, more matches will come, right? I think.
Definitely. Like one of the challenges with like this type of problem is like it's kind of hard to capture some of this and put it as like a software service. But what we can improve on or do more of is basically the engagement aspect of it, because that's what it comes down to. It's like how engaging is the platform. So if you're encouraging people to like engage more with each other, and then you're using their own profiles data to encourage them to engage more with each other, then that relationship will eventually like be stronger.
Yeah, for sure. Where do you see this app going in like 2-3 years from now, 5 years? Like, would you want it to be the it app for Habeshas to really find their soulmates, and where do you see it going?
Definitely we want to like make it super solid where we can easily scale it, perhaps to like other markets as well outside our market. But at the heart of what we're trying to solve is like making the community stronger, building like strong relationships. So anything that's related to a relationship building, community building, we'll start adding it. For example, one of the top requests we're getting now is like to have like non-romantic relationship building platform like networking.
I see.
We had an event in DC not long ago, and this woman told me how she moved to Seattle, and she wanted to meet women, just friends, and she created a Jebena profile, set her gender as man, so the app can bring her women. But in the bio she wrote, I'm actually like trying to meet like friends because I just moved to this city. So that kind of shows you that people, like especially when they move to a new city or like they go to college, they want to like
meet people, right?
But not just romantic relationship. It can be like networking or business partners, whatever.
But that wouldn't be the right way. That would be catfishing.
Well, she's hacking the system. But that shows you there's like a problem.
Sure. But then I think that's an easy fix. You could easily, within Jebena, just say friendships.
Friendships, exactly.
Right? An option that says platonic friendships. Yeah. Habesha people, at the end of the day, we're, for the most part, it's America's or Europe or whatever is not our country in the sense. Sure, there are some that are born and raised there, right? Yeah. But for the most part, there are roots. That are from Ethiopia, Eritrea. So we could just simply say, I just need to meet people. I want people to show me around.
Yeah, definitely.
And network.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be. So people could join the app with that.
Exactly, because that in itself is a form of relationship, and it's a form of like social networking with each other. There's other various types of verticals, but like that's kind of where I see things going, is just anything that brings people together, build a community. We will dive deeper into that.
And I think most Habesha people will be more receptive if they know that, hey, let's just be friends. Let's see where it goes. So just, they could join the app. Start off as friends. If something sparks, then why not, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But as an app, that's
like our job is to bring people together, and then it's up to them what they end up doing.
There's a saying that I've always loved, which is true love is a friendship set on fire.
I like that.
True love is a friendship set on fire. So it can start with friendship and become something else.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Earlier I heard you say my fiance.
Yeah.
So you're engaged.
Yes.
Did you meet your fiance on the app?
That's the number one question.
Yeah, that's the number one.
Even in our engagement post, people are like, did you guys meet on Jebena?
Yeah.
I wish we did. That would have been a cool story. But we met at a Habesha networking event, so that kind of comes down to
about Jebena?
Just a normal networking event. So that just shows you, it can be a networking event, school event, whatever. But
All right. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us about your background. You're from Eritrea?
Yeah. I am. Yeah.
Okay. You speak the language really well.
Yeah.
So just most Tigrinya, right?
Tigrinya.
Most people are wondering, my Tigrinya isn't that great. Nah. So if they hear us speaking English, it's probably because but you can speak fluent. Arrasti tazara minishta.
قرب هو أبيرت عابي أو تولي عابي دحار تمرت خيرة مالتنا أب أمريكا دحريو أب أوهاي ستيت يونيفرسيتي مستمهاركو نام نيويورك خيرة أب نيويورك بوزحات عرفتي سليت أوان زخونو حد خلت محارين خفتن جميرة.
نشتا تسمى.
My Amharic now is limited to ማኪያቶ ጥቁር ያለ like and macchiato ጥቁር ያለ or
if you stay here more than longer
yeah.
then you would learn.
Oh, they're very similar, so I'm loving it here, like noticing the similarities in the language and the culture.
But your Tigrinya is perfect.
That's native level, man.
Wow.
That's my first language.
Dembi
Dembi is Arab. Yeah, بخومينا English كنا. Next time بمحرنيا هنقبل.
بحمارية.
كتمهرن لك كان صح.
موكرية.
موكر.
Did I say that right? I'll try. موكر. تبالله. So I'm not bad. You know? All right, very cool. So you guys met at a networking. What about Jebena doing events like networking?
Yeah.
Where, hey, we have it. Sometimes it's not just about the app.
The app.
Maybe you might do, hey, guys, we're going to be in this city.
Yeah.
And we encourage everyone from within that city to come out and just meet in person.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a good idea?
We've actually been doing that. Part of the reason we grew faster, especially in larger cities, is so in the US, I'm sure your college had, I don't know if your college had Habesha Students Organization.
No, not really. I went to a very
small one.
Small, private. We didn't even have a lot of black people there.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. I think there was one. He graduated right before me.
Just one?
Just one.
Oh, man.
His name's Wandu. And there was another one after I left, Cal. So if you're hearing this, you know Wendu and Cal. But no, in mine. But I'm sure in DC.
My
where were you?
Experience in Ohio State University. So Columbus, Ohio has one of the largest Habesha communities.
It does?
Yeah, like huge community. Outside DC is one of the largest. So we had a large Ethiopian Eritrean student organization. And now, actually, most of them use the same acronym now. So ESA, EESA. So Ethiopian Eritrean Student Association.
Right.
So there's like Columbia has ESA, NYU has ESA, Howard has ESA, Ohio State, OU, Cleveland. Like, it's the same branding.
And Ohio was the one who started this?
It's one of the largest ones, one of the earliest ones, but we used to do basically fashion shows and food fests.
Gotcha.
And our videos on YouTube used to go super viral. So we start partnering with those organizations because that's, you know, like we were saying earlier, you know, college, that's when you're normally more interested in learning more about your culture, meeting people from your culture. So we start working with those organizations. And after the lockdown ended, we started like hosting events with them. So, you know, we help them with social media promotions and marketing, and they would host some of the offline events. And recently in New York, we had one of the largest events. It had like, I think 700 attendees. It was called ESA Fest. So basically all the Ivy League schools, ESAs, like the Ethiopian Eritrean Associations, got together and threw this huge festival. So it had like a business section, it had like a law, it had technology panels, it had fashion shows, it had like food section, it had mini concert basically.
Wow.
And I know, I was so impressed because I used to get super stressed about our organization's small events because I used to be on the board.
Okay.
But the fact that they hosted an event with that many people from working from several universities in the Northeast, I was just amazed by like their work, and as being part of that, we were like so thrilled. And in addition to that, we work with like professional networks as well. So there's like the Eritreans in Tech organization, the Habeshas in Tech organization, Ethiopians in Tech in the Bay Area.
Right.
Because these organizations are like, they have mastered offline events, and ours is the online. So we kind of just like, hey, I'll help you, you help me, let's integrate more.
Fantastic.
But yeah, we'll definitely keep doing more of that now as well, especially here in Addis. We haven't had a major event here, so
you have to, because I don't think a lot of people have heard of Jebena here.
It's still new.
It's still new. You said earlier, you said 50,000.
50,000,
but it could easily grow into the millions.
Definitely, it's a huge market here. And our next goal is to kind of invest more in Ethiopia, learn more of the market. There's a lot of challenges, technical, bureaucratic, other challenges, but we'll surpass those.
Yeah, you will, for sure. But you know, I love the fact that this app really brings together the Ethiopian and Eritrean community, and I feel like you know, it started in college and universities, but you feel it. There's more love now.
Definitely
within the Ethiopian Eritrean community. So whatever's happened in the past is kind of the new generation.
Definitely.
Is sort of letting it go.
Absolutely.
They're dating between, you know what I mean, Habeshas, you know what I mean? So
you see that especially outside, like it's very common, and I'm sure Addis is a metropolis too, so I'm sure that's going to be a big thing here as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I mean,
the younger generation is like more open-minded, and you realize your similarities more than your differences. So it's like,
I mean, we as Habeshas have married outside our race completely.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
We married American white people, you know, whatever. So I know that a lot of parents are actually open. Okay, if they're Habesha, it's even better. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. It's just more of that older mentality where it has to be specifically this ethnicity or this.
Oh yeah, some older people, they want someone from your village. I'm like, where am I gonna meet someone from the eastern part of Adwala in New York City? You know what I mean? So it's like, our generation is definitely a lot more Pan-African and a lot more open-minded.
Pan-African, yes. Do you find that a lot? Are there those kind of nuances where people want, even on that app, they specifically state, hey, I want it from this region, or I want it. Is there any of that, or it's just as long as it's Ethiopian Eritrean, we don't mind?
Yeah, I think that's normally the case. I've seen some people like mention their religion, like they would say like religion is important to me,
religion,
so you have
makes
to be,
sense.
So that one is the most common one that I see, so we might have to add that soon. We didn't early on because it was like a small platform, but as we scale up we need to add that.
No, that makes sense, especially the two major religions that we have, Islam and Christianity. And then of course for within Christianity, Orthodox.
Catholic or Orthodox.
Orthodox is a big one, and I think especially a lot of people, they want within that.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you had like a religious upbringing, that's like the number one thing to you.
Yeah. But I mean, maybe that's not needed to break it down. I think Islam and Christianity, and then leave it at that. You know, don't need to get into.
Because sometimes love is also irrational. You would be like, you know, I want like an Eritrean Muslim, and then you end up with like an Ethiopian Protestant. So
exactly.
You know, we'll introduce you, but you know, let the conversation just flow naturally.
I've had people that have changed their religions. I know people. You know, I know a girl who was a Muslim, became a Christian when she met her.
So
then he became her ex. And then she went back to being Muslim.
So you get the idea. So sometimes it's
you
just
said
like,
love is irrational.
It's irrational, you know? Sometimes.
But no, Jebena is a very it's a cool app. It's a sexy app. You know what I mean? It's young, it's hip.
Yeah.
And you know, I can't wait to see where it goes.
Thank you.
From here. What's next for it? What have you planned now? I know you told me you're going to Uganda? Soon Rwanda.
Yeah, we have one engineer there, so we'll learn more the market, the engineering community there.
Okay.
We're also hiring in Ethiopia as well. We actually recently posted a software developer position.
Okay.
So if there are any software developers,
let me
apply. I've actually been pretty impressed with the engineering community here. Like they're very professionals, and we've had pretty good experience. So we're definitely gonna invest more here. Just in East Africa in general. Just because it's like it's better to just work within your community to like help each other, you know. And then of course like invest more in the Ethiopian market. It's like we've had some technical issues with basically the payment system of the country, like integrating with it. It's been pretty secluded for some time, so there's some like technical challenge we need to resolve to be fully operational in Ethiopia. So those 50,000 users, it's like users that we're not even like fully operational yet. So those are like the people that have signed up when the app is not even fully operational. So so you know, that kind of shows you the demand for it. So we have a lot of work ahead of us to go all in on the market.
Absolutely. Henok, tell me about yourself. What made you get into programming, like that kind of technical tech and stuff like that from Smara?
Yeah.
Right? You moved to America when you were...
To the US, yeah.
Well, how old were you again?
I was like 14.
14, like,
yeah.
Where did that come from? What's your story, you know? Like, were you always a smart kid?
Yeah, a geek, a teacher's pet.
Yeah, you're a nerd.
A nerd, absolutely, a big one. Yeah, I've always been interested in technology. My first interaction with a computer was actually a computer class in Adohala in my hometown. Like, it's like in the south. And this teacher named Daniel, he moved back from Asmara to my hometown to start like a computer class. It was the first computer class. And everybody in that class was basically like, you know, very wealthy people or government officials that had the budget because it was expensive. But I was grateful enough that my mom like enrolled me in that class, and I enjoyed it so much, where like in the next session of the class he told me to come with him so I can like assist him with like just like either teaching people or just we would just geek out about computers.
Did
you
like, naturally pick it up?
Yeah, it was like a different world, you know what I mean? Because it just completely like you can just type stuff and things happen and you can make different programs interact with each other. So it was just like it just blew my mind.
And you just kept studying more.
Yeah, and I was more on like the artistic side actually. I liked like graphic design and videos and architecture. So in college I actually wanted to be an architect. But then later on I was like, you know, let me get into technology, but let me pick a field that's like the most artistic, and I think software allows you to be like more artistic,
right?
Especially like what I do is like more front end development, so like, you know, visual design of like software, basically the front end aspect of it. Yeah, in college, like in the beginning, the school curriculum can be confusing, but once you start building projects, like seeing the application of what you're learning, like the theoretical part, then it's like it just like it doesn't feel like work, you know what I mean? I'm sure like with your work you see like where you're at like 2 a.m. you're like, oh, I gotta get this out because you're so like in love with it.
Yeah. So that's what it was.
Yeah, definitely.
For you. Okay, very interesting.
Yeah.
And that's how all this was created. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are just so interested in tech and programming and stuff. And so what would be the advice? Is just kind of learn. Well, right now, it's just so much is happening in the industry, isn't it? With AI coming in.
Oh, absolutely. It's like it's always changing. It's probably one of the fastest changing engineering sectors. Like every year there's a completely different technology.
Right.
But I guess to give an advice maybe to like a younger person, it would be in the early days of like engineering, like the classes can feel overwhelming. You don't realize like how fun it can get until like you start building like applications. So when I say application, I'm not just talking about mobile apps. It can be, if you're a civil engineer, once you go on the field and see like what's actually taking place, that's when you get to see the real work.
Got you.
So don't be intimidated by like the early phase, the theoretical part. You're like, why do we need this, you know? But yeah, and then once you get into the sector, in the corporate life, it's slightly different. It's a lot different from school, because in school a lot of what you're working on is like assignments that were created by professors. So they would give it to you, and then, you know, you finish it, you give it to them, you get graded. But in real life, a lot of what you do is maintenance, basically a system that was built a while ago. It can be a bank or a tech company. So you need to learn about how to read other people's work and how to give them feedback and how to receive feedback. You're not building something from scratch a lot of times. Like 9 out of 10 you're maintaining or fixing systems.
Gotcha.
So like that's when like the networking part of it, or, you know, getting to know like more experienced people and picking their brains and getting out of that comfort zone becomes like very crucial. And when you're like a new guy coming into the corporate life or the work life, it can get intimidating because you'll be like the youngest person in the crowd. So it's like different phases, basically different types of
sure.
like development.
How do your parents feel, or your family feel, about what you're doing, this app? And
they're very supportive. Some people would tell my dad like, oh, you know, like there's like a dating app called Jebena, and, you know, you should introduce your kids. And he's like, oh, my son actually did that. And they're like, oh, really? So there's some aunties promoting it too. So I guess we got the parental approval for it. But yeah, they were actually encouraging of me like pursuing it full time, because I went full time like a few months ago.
Where were you before? Tell our audience.
Yeah, initially when I moved to New York, I was with Chase Bank. It's the largest bank in the U.S. and their main offices are in New York and New Jersey. I was with them for several years, and then I was with Amazon. I was working on the Prime Video team, and then more recently I was working with MasterCard, and in DC. So I was there for a year, and MasterCard. It was like it's a different types of companies, basically the finance, the tech companies. They have different cultures, the technical, the non-technical part. So that's kind of my background.
Your background, doing the kind of the programming, the tech side.
The tech side of it.
Companies.
Yeah,
definitely. The guys that are pretty much making it run on the backside that no one hears about.
Exactly. Right? Running the engine on the back, especially with Amazon, because I got to work with like Prime Video, and it's like millions of users, so you would hear occasions where they're like, oh, there was an issue, and then we do like post-mortem analysis on like what went wrong and what could have been better, and then you hear just wild numbers. They'd be like, oh, that cost us like $56 million. I'm like, wait, what? Wow. It just happened like for a few minutes. And so it just shows you the scale of these companies. It's like small issue literally is multi-million issue if you mess up.
That's crazy. It's something we can't even fathom.
Yeah, these companies are so massive.
So your family was actually supportive that you would leave a really stable, high-paying job such as these, and then just like do your own thing. Right? That's awesome.
I think they mostly probably just felt bad that I was working too late, and like because I would work on my day job, and then at night you're like staying up late and meeting, because we're also in different time zones,
right.
And they're like, just don't burn yourself, focus on one thing and then see where that goes.
Because that's the best way. You just put your chips, you have a dream, go for it, kind of thing.
Definitely.
And you could always, if it doesn't work out, you've got your
the Amazons of the world are not going anywhere.
And they keep coming, right? No, so Henok, this was so interesting. I think so many people are going to be so interested to learn more about this app, especially after they watch this podcast.
I want to say that it actually like works, and there's a lot of users on it, and we go out of our way to make sure that it's the most comfortable space for you. We've built a lot of tools that will help you meet up people, engage with them, build meaningful relationships. So this is not just like a pipe dream. It's been proven in the market, and there's a lot of great people out there. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship, but just just try the platform and give us feedback too, because the feedback from the community has been the number one driver for us. Like people would say like, hey, you need to improve this part, or they would say, I really like this part, can you double down on it? Because sometimes you kind of have your own bias where you think like, oh, I think people will like this part, and then you put it out there and they're like, oh no, that's a terrible idea.
Right.
And so like our people thankfully are very vocal, so keep bringing up your feedbacks.
If one thing I'm sure that people would want to know is it free? Is there payment involved? Like if I was a guy wanted to sort of see these profiles of women, and how does that work?
Yeah, so we have the common business model in the industry. It's a freemium business model where pretty much all the features you need to meet people are free. So you don't need to pay to meet people or to use the app, or to even create an account. But there is some like paid features that will like enhance your experience even more. Okay. So imagine it's like a bar or restaurant. You go in, you can browse, do whatever you want, message people, and then you're like, you know what, I like what's going on. I want to elevate my experience more. I want to match quicker. I want to meet people and get their attention quicker. So you're at a bar, you're trying to get somebody's attention. You don't just talk to them. You might say, hey, let me buy you a drink. So we have features like that would say like, hey, like take it to the next level, show them that you're actually real. So some of our paid features are like that to basically elevate the experience.
Gotcha.
But yeah, to try it out to see what's going on, you don't need to pay. You can just create a free account. So
anybody could just go on and sign.
Yeah.
And I have one here too. So for people to, there it is.
Bobby is on Jebena.
I am on Jebena. Holla at me.
Holla at him.
So yeah, I mean, and I gotta say the app is very smooth.
Yeah,
very easy to sign up to, and really a lot of high quality people.
Yeah, thank
on
you.
there, really. So, Henok, it was a pleasure having you. Thank you for coming, and we wish you all the best, and we hope that you could come back and keep us posted.
Absolutely.
Everything that's going on.
So thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Definitely, it was a pleasure. So that's it, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and make sure to like, subscribe to Dink TV, and until next time, catch you on the flip side. Peace.